Thank you for coming. This session is about the IDEA roadmap. We're calling it the 2020 roadmap. And I have the opportunity to start the presentation. I'm Mike Wentz, for anybody that doesn't know me by now. This is an interesting year for me. I had a milestone birthday about 3 months ago. I turned 60 years old, and I've been in the industry for 37 years. So it's interesting when you have a milestone birthday, how you start looking back at your career and look back at some of your experiences you've had. And I started looking back in order to prepare for this presentation and started thinking about some of the things that I did way back in high school. How many of you read Future Shock in high school in the 70s? Okay, some of you did. It's amazing. When I went back to look at that book in preparing for this session, how many of those concepts and the thoughts that he had at that time that we've seen come to reality today. Now, another significant book that I read by Jeffrey Moore was Crossing the Chasm, about 20 years later. And one of the interesting concepts of that whole book is how we all adopt technology at different rates, and how we have innovators and we have laggards, and what should we as marketers or as businessmen, business people looking to do business with our customers, how should we adapt to that? And so I think part of what we're dealing with as an industry here, and as we look forward to the 2020 era, is that I think all of us feel at times that we have information overload. Information's coming at us from all directions. And also we have to figure out how do we adapt to that technology, and how do we adapt to our customers who may be outpacing us. And I think that's a common phenomenon in the electrical industry, is oftentimes our customers are ahead of us. So again, just looking back for a second, when I started in the industry, I realized that this year, I've been using a laptop computer for 30 years. Some of you in the room might not even be 30 yet. But I used to carry that little DG1 around because I was working for a software company, calling on electrical distributors, and we would demo our software on it. And one of the most vivid memories I have is I'd be sitting in an airport, no battery life, so I'd be plugged into a wall somewhere, and people literally would walk around and they'd do this. What is he doing? And what is that thing? And now think about how we've advanced, because during that same era, look at that paper notepad over there, or that order pad. How many of you remember the multi-part order pads? Remember how much money the paper sales guys made? Because I know when we come in and sell software, the guy would show up in a Jaguar or something equivalent to that, and the guy that was selling the paper was making a lot of money. Well, at that period of time, I remember distributors saying, we'll never be able to automate our counters. Nobody will ever be able to come in and not have to write down the order. But guess what? We did that. We jumped way beyond that. We've seen things happen like the example of the website up there. Now people are doing business not only in their cities and their local markets, they're doing it across borders, whether it be states or maybe even countries. So we've seen a lot of change. So every time you see new technology coming and you say, you know what? That's never going to happen here. Guess what? It's happening already. So I took some snapshots of my iPhone, and I'm sure that many of you have this kind of stuff, but I look back and I go, it's amazing how wired I am today. We recently had an opportunity, my family, my in-laws had a small farm, and we got a little cabin across the street from it. So now I have a Nest camera inside, I have a Nest camera outside, I have a little weather station there because it tends to freeze in the wintertime, it's up in the mountains. I can change the temperature from here right now. I know what the air pressure is in my Jeep Cherokee sitting in New Jersey right now. I can start the car from here. And we just take that as commonplace now because it's like, it's just around us all the time. And how is this happening? It's because of technology. It's because of having the internet and having sensors. Well, thank goodness there's at least one area where we can unwind. We can play with our dog and say, Toby, I'm just glad I can escape with you once in a while and throw the ball. And then we realize, oh no, Toby's wired too, because he has a GPS collar now, so because he tends to run away, I can always know where he is on my iPhone at all times. So I don't know if how many of you have been paying attention to Amazon lately? Anybody? A little bit. So is everybody, I guess, my wife is a big shopper at Whole Foods. My daughter calls it basically the whole wallet store because they basically take your whole wallet. Amazon, and I think I actually had another, hang on. Amazon recently acquired Whole Foods. Everybody aware of that? So where do you think that's going? Digital. So now we used to have smart TVs, right? And guess what? I could get the internet on my TV. Isn't that cool? Well, now my refrigerator is going to be on the internet. And guess what? Amazon's going to know, Whole Foods is going to know that guess what? The ketchup bottle's down to here now. So when I get home tonight, there'll be a delivery and I'll have my refill of my ketchup. So I think in one of the presentations earlier this week, they talked about the buttons that they have, the Amazon buttons to reorder. That's antiquated, right? Because the sensors and the Internet of Things is going to be so wired that basically everything is going to work on its own. So have you seen this bit of Amazon technology? It's called Go technology. Basically what the technology is Amazon has experimented. In fact, I think they've already opened their first store in Seattle. It's a retail establishment. In this case, it happens to be consumer products. And basically, you go in, you scan your phone like you're walking through a turnstile to get on a train or going through the airport. And you walk in, and there are no cashiers. There are no registers. There are no basic employees around. You pick up your product, and as soon as you pick it up, it's already going on to your account. If you sit it back down and go, no, I didn't really want the ketchup, I wanted the mustard, and you pick it up, then that goes on your account. You basically walk out of the store. That's it. Now, those of you that are so focused on e-commerce and saying, I got to sell stuff on the web, what's going to happen if your competitor opens up across the street and allows contractors to walk in, walk out, and never have to talk to a counterman? That's a little scary, isn't it? Because I know electrical contractors that go to distributors on purpose because they say, I get in and get out faster at this place than I do at their competitor across the street. So there's a lot of technology coming, and we're focused on it. And hopefully some of you heard the BIM presentation by our friends from Finland and Norway who came over and presented all the way from Europe. I will tell you, if you didn't catch that session, my takeaway is Europe is so much further ahead in smart buildings and BIM technology. And the US, we normally pride ourselves in being leaders, are lagging behind. But guess who the technology companies are that they're working with over there? They're US-based companies. So if you're not thinking about how someday a smart building in your market is going to be reordering equipment, electrical equipment, you need to start thinking about that as well. And it's not just office buildings, it's in the individual homes. It's coming. And just like the automated counter, it's going to be here before we know it. So the Internet of Things, what does it require? Data synchronization. Because this is all great stuff, but if you don't have good quality data and it's not synchronized, it's never going to work. So I can look at my cabin right now and I can tell you what the humidity is, I can tell you what the outside temperature is, what the inside temperature is. I couldn't do that if it wasn't synchronized. And so that's what we're building a plan for. And that's why we're investing heavily in things like the ETIM. We've made a lot of investments in technology. This is one that doesn't get a lot of exposure, but we have invested heavily in being aware, building plans, adapting for the future of ETIM in the US. And right now there aren't many people that are asking us for it, but we're investing in it because we know that it's essential. So just in summarizing, we believe that the 2020 plan, what's important for IDEA is we basically have a three-legged stool. We're building a new technology that will support us well into the future, past 2020. We're focusing on standards because that's what helps make all of this data synchronization work. And then we're working to assure data quality so that you can count on what you're getting from IDEA.